Hey everyone, today I'll be rating the drivers' performances for the 2024 F2 Grand Prix weekend at Australia. Let me know if you agree and what your ratings are in the comments below. Let's start with the ART team. Victor Martins, I'll give a 6. He's slowly getting there this season. He had a terrible qualifying, having a spin and losing the engine, hence qualifying last, but impressively brought it back in both races to score a couple of points. Still, not at the level that he would desire, but showed if he had a good qualifying, he would have been fighting at the front. His teammate, Zach O'Sullivan, gets a 5. He had a solid qualifying, coming 11th, and managed to initially gain some positions in the sprint, but he couldn't maintain the performance in the tyres, so then dropped down out of points, but a Bamman penalty made him get a singular point for that sprint race. He had an issue with the car in the feature race and had to retire. An okay showing, but didn't deliver the performance of his teammate did, hence why it's a bit lower. Now moving on to the Prema Racing team, Oliver Bamman I'll give a 4. He got kind of messed up in the quali due to Enzo Fittipaldi binning it into the wall, which will be a repeating theme in today's rankings, as you can't judge much on that due to the ramping up of the track towards the end of the session. He managed to redeem a 16th in quali, 2 points in the sprint race, but due to a penalty pushing Dirksen off the track, he dropped out of the points. He did not drop out, however, in the feature race, and got 2 points for his effort. He will be hoping for better in the European races coming up, and if he keeps up these low point scoring performances, he might cast some shadows of doubt over his F1 future. Andrea Antonelli I'll give a 7. It's a little better for his young teammate, also looking to get into F1, but he will also need to cut out some of those unforced errors if he is to continue to push for 2025 Williams seat or even a Mercedes seat. Qualified great in second and showed great pace for each of the races, but spun in some dirty air which he should have done better in while competing for second in the sprint race, making him retire. He had a good battle for the lead in the feature race, but got screwed over with a safety car and also struggled on those tyres, and so he ended up in 4th in the end. Moving on to the Rodin team, Zane Maloney, the championship leader, I'll give him an 8. He qualified well in 5th, which put him in contention for both races. He only did one thing wrong all weekend, which was going wide in the corner in the sprint race, which meant he went out of podium contention and moved out of the points altogether. He didn't make the same mistake in the feature, and although he got a bit unlucky with the ill-timed VSC, he climbed back up to the field for a solid 3rd, meaning he continues to lead the championship by 15 points. His teammate, Tomo Mieta, 7 points. He qualified down in 12th and managed to turn that into points in both races, getting 5th in both the sprint and the feature race. He will be chuffed with that performance and now has a couple of months to apply what he has learned in the first section of the year to the European races coming up. He should feel more comfortable going to more traditional racetracks and not street tracks, and let's see if he has found his rhythm finally. Dams, we have Jack Crawford with a 5. He had a massive crash in qualifying, which ruined his weekend ultimately, as although he showed great pace in both races, almost making it to the points each time, he just fell short and couldn't climb up a few more places in the race. And because he almost did that, I'll give him a little bit of leniency, hence the 5. His teammate, no leniency whatsoever. Juan Manuel Correa, 2 points. One of 3 drivers yet to score a point, and the only non-PHM driver to do so. Crawford has shown that this car is good, as did Iwasa last year, so he needs to step it up. Had the slowest time in qualifying, and showed he was okay in both the sprint races and the feature race, but didn't get close to any points. It's nice to have him back, but he's not got the speed. Invicta, Kush Maini with a 7-pointer. A really good qualifying with a 4th, which he converted to a podium in the sprint race. But he got away poorly in the feature race, which led to him doing an ultimate pit strategy that didn't come off. He showed great pace throughout both races, and a better time safety car would have made him potentially get 2 podiums, which would have been an excellent weekend for the Indian. Gabriel Bortoleto, just a 5. A solid qualifying, putting him 9th on the grid for the feature, and 2nd on the front row for the sprint. But at the start of the sprint, he got squeezed way too tight by a blind Hadjar, which ended his race. He could have got a better getaway, but as Hadjar was penalised, I can't put too much onus on the Brazilian. The feature race wasn't any better, with what I can only presume retiring from the start due to an issue caused by that crash with Hadjar and Marti in the start of the sprint race. If he just got a little bit better off the line in the sprint race, it could have been a whole different weekend, hence why I'm being a little lenient and giving him a 5. MP Motorsport, both having strong weekends. Dennis Hauger gets an 8, a tale of ups and downs for Hauger, who might be feeling the pressure of a title fight. He got pole position with a cracking lap right at the death in qualifying, then came through the field for a fabulous 10th to 2nd display in the sprint. But a lapse of concentration ruined his feature race as he spun out in one of the corners from first place. That cost him a likely podium at least in F2, and more importantly, at least 2 points in my ratings today, so an 8. His teammate, Franco Colapinto, 7. A very similar performance to Mieta, qualifying 13th and making it into a 4th in the sprint and 7th in the feature race. He did get disqualified during the feature race, but it was a technical issue, so I won't give it too much on him, hence why he's a bit higher up than what you might expect. But he also gets a little bit off the top for being outscored and outqualified by his teammate. Then the VAR team, the Enzo Fittipaldi. I'm giving him a 1. It might seem harsh, but hear me out. He didn't do too much in the sprint, coming 12th, worth points, and was last of the finishers in the feature race. But most importantly, he robbed us of an amazing qualifying fight, which ruined the laps of half the races on the grid. I hold a grudge. Villagomez though, I'll give a 6. He had a really boring weekend until the feature race where he had a great strategy call, put him right in the points in 7th place. He was there when it matters, and that's most of the game. He quadruples his points tally this weekend. Now we have the two high-techs, starting with Amaury Cadiel, a 3. Similar to Villagomez, he had a bad qualifying, a bad sprint, but a slightly different strategy just didn't pay off. It was close to points in the feature with his effort, coming 11th, and he didn't crash all weekend, so not a terrible thing. Paul Aaron gets a 9 with one of the highest scores this weekend. This guy, he might be one of my favourite drivers now. He qualified in 6th place, which is so promising for both races. Before Verschoor and Antonelli did choreographed spins in the battle for 4th, with Verschoor hitting Aaron and making him tumble down the order. Not his fault. He was the one who kept it clean, so it doesn't affect my rankings. The feature race was just as good, but without the impact from a crash. Showed good overtaking and a cool head to convert a good strategy to a 2nd place finish and cement his fight for the championship this year as a rookie. Dark horse, that's all I say, dark horse. Now we have Campos, Isaac Hadjar, 8 points. This weekend could have been a 10 for Hadjar. Qualified 8th and crossed the line in 1st in both races. With only a really aggressive move coming at the start of the sprint race ruining his day on Saturday, but he showed great composure and drive on the Sunday to not let that deter him and win the feature race. Gets less points for a stupid crash and qualifying a bit lower down the order than he would have liked. Pepe Marti, his teammate, gets a 5. He beat his teammate in qualifying, but it was his teammate who took him out. Can't really do much about that. Same again for the race, with a poor time pit stop ruining contention for solid points. Really bad luck for the rookie, but I can't score above a 5 with a point this weekend. Now we have the Trident team, with Richard Verschoor, 7 points. Great qualifying, getting 3rd, but got caught in some dirty air while fighting Antonelli and span off ending his race. The feature race was just okay too, scoring some solid points. If he didn't spin in the sprint, I might have given him an 8 or a 9, but it's just 7 points today in my ratings. Almost a 6. Roman Stanek, out of the blue, nowhere, and he gets an 8. He converted sprint race pole to a sprint race win. Great drive and breaks his duck for the season. He also fell victim to an unpredictable strategy in the feature race. A surprising and impressive weekend. Now moving on to the PHM teams. They did not have a great weekend, did they? Joshua Dirksen, I'll give a 3. He qualified above his teammate, and that's what I'm comparing them to most of the time because they're just off it as a team. They got pushed off the track by Oliver Bem in the sprint race. Before that, he was battling for a point, so it's okay. But then in the feature race, when he was also contending for points, he kind of cut O'Sullivan up, which led to his eventual DNF. But he was fighting for 4 points as well, so 2 scuffles, one his fault, one not. Evens out for a 3 because he didn't get any points. He wasn't showing that he was going to get points, he was just showing he might get points. Taylor Barnard, I'll give 2 points. Out-qualified by his teammate, and continues his no point scoring run. He had an unsubstantial weekend and didn't show much of anything. Good experience, but needs to get quicker, fast. There are my ratings. Let me know if you agree in the comments and what your ratings are. Who do you think was the best driver, the worst driver, maybe like an underrated driver that no one really is talking about? Yeah. Peace.